We're now joined by Executive Chairman of the Institute of Election Management Services in Africa, Tselane. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time and welcome to the late edition. We know that in 7 days' time, South Africans are really preparing to make their mark. And of course, the environment needs to be one fostered around trust, integrity, respect, all essential components to ensuring that they are indeed free and fair. What kind of preparation is needed for this caliber of elections as we edge closer and closer?
Good evening to you and to your viewers, and thank you very much for having me. Of course, there are 5 key areas the Commission is going to focus on. The first one is the issue of the logistics, making sure that there is sufficient materials going to the voting station at the right time and in the right areas. So that if you are at a particular voting station, the kind of the ballot papers that you are receiving are in fact relevant for that voting station. You don't want to go to the voting station and find that the ballot paper that we're getting at the voting station in Gauteng, it's in fact for a regional ballot paper in KwaZulu-Natal. So the Commission has got to make sure that indeed the logistics are such that the electorate will be able to find sufficient materials. When you go to the voting station, you'll find the sufficient number of ballot papers, and whether it be the security measures or aspects, that all those things, all those issues are catered for. And then secondly, that you go to the voting station, you find the electoral staff of the Commission being equipped and then being trained to understand how they're supposed to run the process. The legal framework is already there. It has been finalized, and these elections are taking place within that context. And then obviously, we don't expect the environment to be tampered with in terms of ensuring for free and fair elections, that people who want to participate, the electorate, they're able to access their voting stations without any difficulty. So those are some of the issues that are really critical in terms of what should be applicable on the day of voting.
What do you make of some of the extraordinary measures that were announced today insofar as ensuring that elections are not tampered with as we head to the booth?
The great thing about the system in South Africa is the transparency that is there within the system, making sure that at the time when a person gets to the voting station, when it opens, that the presiding officer will be able to open the ballot boxes to indicate that there is nothing pre-stuffed in that ballot box. And the ballot box does not leave the voting station. After voting has happened, the station is turned into a counting center. Counting happens there. The results are plugged outside the voting station with the signature of the party agents and all the people who are participating in there. Information is transferred and it's transmitted, and everybody can actually be able to see information captured, as well as the one that has actually been where it has been screened through the system. So you can be able to compare those results. So the system of transparencies are sufficient to be able to offer confidence in the process, and I think it's a good thing.
One crime expert was saying that as we, of course, factor in the role of election observers, the suggestion was that observers also need to keep an eye on the police at the polls, and of course one of them should also have another one trained on the police. How effective do you think election observers are and their role within the entire election process, as well as, of course, monitoring the role of the police?
Well, the election observers are important because they play a role of auditors at the voting station. They check whether everything that happens at the voting station level is in line with the Constitution and the electoral framework. and that if there is anything that is untoward that happens at the voting station, when they present the report, they will indicate that there were these irregularities that were happening at the voting station. So their role is important, but also remember that in terms of the Constitution, the role of the management of the elections is that of the Commission. So in terms of Section 190 of the Constitution, the Commission has got to manage, organize the elections, two, to ensure that those elections are free and fair, and three, to declare the results thereof. So there is no other entity that is responsible for the management of the elections. So even the security forces, even though they're going to be there to make sure that there is law and order, they participate at the voting station at the invitation of the presiding officer. So the whole process of the management of the elections, it's solely the responsibility of the Commission, and not even the security forces can intervene or interfere with that particular process because, as I've indicated, it is something that is contained within the Constitution, and it is the role of the Commission.
Yeah, I mean, I asked you the question because as I listened to the conversation with the expert on security, it was suggested that one precaution authorities could take is to swap local police officers with those from other stations to disaffiliate from local politics. I mean, do you think that would be a necessity in terms of consideration?
Well, that is the responsibility of the police to see how they manage their logistics. But it's got absolutely nothing to do with the electoral processes because, as I've indicated, the police have got absolutely no role whatsoever to play in terms of the electoral processes, because that responsibility is bestowed on the Commission by the Constitution. So whether you are bringing the police from one area or the other, the police will not intervene in the electoral process because that is the position of the Commission. And the Commission and its officials are the only ones who can actually be able to play a role at that level.
Yeah. We've heard of how over the past weeks, the Electoral Commission has been focused, of course, on the saga of former President Jacob Zuma in court and the MK party. How do you think we'll begin to now measure the impact of whether or not that entire process may have derailed them from focusing entirely on election preparation?
Well, I would like to believe that the Commission, especially based on how it has performed in terms of the diaspora vote with all the international missions where the elections were taking place within an environment that is professional and it is conducted with integrity, that has actually provided us with a dry run in terms of the preparations of these elections, and therefore the fact that there were so many court cases that the Commission was dealing with would not really have any negative effect in terms of the preparations of the elections. But we can only be able to make a determination on the day of the elections, which is on the 29th, and then to see as to whether indeed what I'm saying is correct, that they were not defocused by this issue of having to deal with so many court cases.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for weighing in on this discussion. Let's leave it there for now. Executive Chairman of the Institute of Election Management Services in Africa, Tselane.